This is called dot build. Now, my character is pretty much min-maxed, as you can see right here. It is gonna take you about 500, 600 divines to get a character to this point. I want to show you a map real quick, and I also want to show you pretty much what you are going to expect from playing this build without that much investment. So that is the build. It can be even faster because I don't have onslaught right now. Um, you can make the build even faster than this, but this is pretty much as fast as you can get. Maybe if you do weapon swap and put rampage and you have a lot of pack size, this is pretty much how the build will look in the end game. Now I want to show you kinda how the build will perform with about 1 to 2 divines. Now I don't have gear um, to show you exactly, but I'm gonna try to mimic something to kind of replicate. So I'm gonna take down all these gems. Now, as you can see, my vortex damage is 138,000. Here is 172. But basically, I mean, I can even put it here, maybe to deal even less damage. So this is more accurate, right? Now, this amount of damage is pretty obtainable. I'm not gonna use any flasks, so mage path doesn't count. Um, in terms of defenses, I'm going to have a little bit over 75, but as I said, I don't have a gear to show exactly how it would look like in a league start scenario, but I'm trying to get as close as possible. And armor only 15,000, considering that I'm using determination and also I'm using defiance banner. Maybe let's just turn defiance banner, because in a league start scenario you are not going to have the determination enchant, or at least most people are not going to have the determination enchant on a big faceted bassinet and all the implicits, right? Now the only thing that I cannot remove is spell suppression and elemental ailments avoidance. As you can see right here, I'm completely immune to elemental ailments and spell suppression, but this should give you a rough idea of how this build performs. This Forge of the Phoenix is quite a strong map. Um, let's see if I can finish it. Again, I'm not going to use any flasks, so this is also a downside. And let's show you the build. This clear speed, uh, because I'm not using Quicksilver Flask, um, my my movement is quite slow. But if you're using flasks and if you take some nodes on the passive tree, you are going to have a lot of movement speed, and you are going to move much faster. So this is the demonstration of the clear speed and the kind of the tankiness of the build. Again, I had elemental elements avoidance and spell suppression maxed, um, and also I had the heart of destruction. But in the POB that I'm going to give you, you are going to take a lot of area of effect nodes. This heart of destructions gives you around 15% more damage overall, and 60% area of effect while mapping, so it's very good for clear. Now let's show you the POB. So this is pretty much the end game, what I have right now. So you can take a look at one thing that is very important. This used to be called exposure -5. Now it's going to be curses on enemies have 15% increased effect. This is probably the strongest master you can take, alongside with this chance to suppress spell damage. Um, anyway, the most important thing is this jewel. It's very important to be by Doriani, and the number doesn't really matter. You can play around with it and see what gives you better outcomes here, but the number doesn't really matter. You just need to get it by Doriani. Um, Other than that, the Watcher's Eye is damage over time multiplier malevolence and some mana recovery rate while affected by clarity. Um, One of the issues of this build is you're going to struggle a lot of with mana. So this is why you are going to buy items with non-channeling. Um, if possible, also on the amulet, but it's very hard to get the non-channeling on the amulet. Uh, so basically, you just buy you just craft non-channeling or buy items with veiled non-channeling. Um, and also you need some mana regeneration rate. Um, that's one issue that you will encounter with this build. Um, Now let's show you the kind of how you level. So in this POB, if you click right here, you have some trees, some different trees. This, for example, is the campaign tree. For skills, I don't have the skills exactly that you are going to use for leveling, but I'm going to leave a video in the description from another guy that levels with this build, and you can pretty much do exactly what he does. This is his build. This is his build, and I use it and I put it in this POB because it's pretty similar with what I'm what I'm also going to use after finishing the campaign. So this is after I'm finishing the campaign. The tree changes a little bit, but not by much. So basically, if you want, you can keep this for until 90 and something. But ideally at level 85 you swap. But if you don't have regrets, you're not going to swap. But if you really want to make it more efficient, you drop these nodes. This right here is very good, especially for doing maps early on, because you move very fast. It gives you a lot of attack speed, and this also gives you a lot of damage. If you look at my damage right here, if I take this, it dropped a lot, quite a lot. So this is the tree that you're going to use from after finishing the campaign till level 85, 90, maybe even 90. But I would prefer to swap, and this is pretty much how the build looks like. We drop these nodes right here. So your clear speed is going to slow down a little bit by dropping these nodes. You are going to take more auras. You're going to have more dexterity. Um, if you manage to get that unique jewel, you take these nodes right here. But if you don't manage to find that unique jewel, you just don't take them. Next upgrades would be like taking the jewel nodes, all the jewel nodes right here, and this puts you at level 92, which is uh, quite a lot for most people. And then you can just copy the endgame tree, play with it. This is pretty much what you do. Maybe you take this point right here for more mana regeneration. You take some life. Basically, you just Look at my tree, my endgame tree. You see what I'm anointing. You see that I also have this cool jewel that allows me to take some points right here. This is just for much to make my build much tankier, and this is a very expensive jewel, like 15-20 divines. But you don't really have to use it. Um, as you saw in that demonstration, my build was quite tanky, um, and I managed to complete that Forge of the Phoenix, even though I had very poor damage and the monster had increased monster life. I managed to do it fine. And by the way, in the next league, this build will deal about 50% more damage. Now, I didn't. I don't know where is my my elemental weakness. So in that showcase, I only used temp chains. Um, but basically, you are going to use elemental weakness because temporal chains are not really worth using right now. They are still good if you want to use them while mapping. Um, but especially early on, I think more damage is better. So you can swap temporal chains um, for elemental weakness and just use triple curses, and the bosses will melt. That's pretty much. I don't know exactly where it is to showcase you because of this all this remove only. So whatever. Now let's show you kind of the items that you're going to need. It's okay. So ignore the jewels. I didn't bother changing them. Um, the flasks are not crafted correctly. I just put what type of flask you need. You craft them well, however you like them. Usually with gain charges, but whatever you prefer, you craft. You need granite, quartz, divine life, silver, and quicksilver. If you have crafted on your boots uh, onslaught, then you don't need silver, and you can replace it with either jade flask or maybe basalt flask. Both are good. In terms of damage, this damage is going to be enough to kill Shaper. I'm not sure if you can kill Uber Elder or Maven with this damage. But you can definitely kill Shaper. You can do tier 16 uh, very easy. Uh, but for Uber bosses, this damage is not enough. You are going to invest in this build at least 50 to 60 divines to make it viable to kill Uber bosses. Um, in terms of items, your belt, just put life and uh, life and resistances, maybe stats if you need stats. For your rings, you need resistances, chaos. Make sure you have elemental and chaos stress capped. Chaos is not really that big of a deal, but if you run maps with monsters that poison or deal chaos damage, then you are going to have a problem. But make sure at least your elemental resistances are kept, and you have on your rings, you have these non-channeling skills have minus mana cost. Um, for the amulet, try to get a +1 and increase the effect of non-damaging elements, and also make sure you have enough stats. That's one of the most important things, that you have a lot of stats. You basically need around 126 dexterity and 159 strength, I guess. um, for your boots, um, if you want to go for the chance to avoid elemental elements, you need at least 23. um, Scorched, it's the best implicit you can get. um, but other than that, the modifiers should be life. You don't really need to bother with spell suppression in the beginning. Obviously, if you're going to do bosses, spell suppression is mandatory, but in the beginning you don't really need the spell suppression. You can get it later. For the gloves, try to get a +1. This +1 you can craft it, or you can make even better gloves, such as these ones. But this is more advanced and is going to cost a lot. We are talking about 10-15 divines for a pair of gloves like this one, because you're going to use ashling and a lot of metacrafts. But a, a gloves like this, just spam Essence of Delirium on it until you get until you hit some resistances with guaranteed 30% more damage over time, or and I guess it's an empty suffix to craft the +1 AoE, and then you just socket your cold snap into your gloves. For your body armor, preferably you get a chance to avoid elemental elements and it's not a corrupted body armor, but maybe day first or day two of the league you're not going to be elemental element capped. So any six link with the right colors, maybe a little bit of life and stats is going to be, or resistances is going to be good. Now, this is what you are going to look for your helmet. It's very important that you get a helmet. You buy any random helmet that has the implicit of 9% mana reservation efficiency or 8%, whatever you get. And then you use, I think it was called the deafening essence of loathing to guarantee 10%, 9 to 10% mana reservation efficiency of skills. After doing that, so you buy the helmet with the implicit from the market because they are going to drop from the altars, so that you don't have to spend 1 to 2 divines for uh, to get the mod yourself, because it's very rare. And then you just throw a deafening essence of loathing on it. Your shield, try to get any shield with +1 and either spell damage, cold damage, or maximum life. You get a shield like this, maybe some resistances, and your wand, either a wand or a scepter that has +1 cold or +1 all spells, maybe some uh, spell damage or some cold damage over time multiplier, or an empty prefix or an empty suffix to craft either spell damage or cold damage over time multiplier. So this is pretty much your wand. Now this build right here is capable of doing Shaper. As I said, I don't think it's good for Uber Elder. I mean, you can try it, but it's going to be hard. Definitely cannot do Uber bosses with this amount of investment. But as you can see, the items are quite cheap. There's no unique here. You just need to know what to buy, and you are going to hit around. Uh, I guess it's going to be 5 to 6k very easily. Maybe 6k not, but 5k HP and some 1000 and something, maybe 2000 energy shield once you get that unique jewel by Doriani. In terms of ascendancies, you're going to rush the Frigid Wake. Then you can either take Profane Bloom or Malediction, depending on what you prefer. I always choose Profane Bloom. Malediction is fine if you need more damage early on. It's not that big of a deal. So in the description, I'm going to leave a video, a link to a video on a racer that is going to play this build, and you can just look at him how he levels. His leveling tree is similar to mine, pretty much. You don't really need to use a lot of regrets. And after that, you can just open this POB and look at these trees right here. There are going to be two POPs because the endgame tree is just the endgame tree without the skills and the items. So the second POB is going to be this one with all the items and pretty much how it is been maxed. Definitely you can make some improvements to the build, especially now with some changes that are coming in G20. But the build is going to be pretty similar to this one.